Gosh, I can't remember. It's only been 2.5 months. Why does it feel like I don't remember anything?
Uh,
No, I got
you're
it.
so out of practice.
I know. You don't need that much practice in order to record something. Jeez. Especially something simple like this. Honestly, screen capturing video games is a little more complex.
I don't know, but I'm gonna end up taking a nap. Uh, so things are lively over there tonight. I thought my cats were gonna be the background entertainment, but then your
Yes.
housemate brought the excitement.
Yeah, sure. That's how you explain that. Definitely 100%. Anyway, all right. So what were we going? What?
Good evening and welcome to Nerd Rage episode. I have no idea because we haven't done this in ages.
What she said, honestly, because I don't even remember at this point.
You kept up with it for years. You knew exactly which episode, and now all of a sudden it's like I have no clue.
Well, it's not like I've been paying attention or anything.
It's like I don't know, 179, 180, something like that. Whatever. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, in post. It's too late for this.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm watching it, dude.
I heard that
So
twice.
it's Stranger Things season 2 came out today.
I haven't watched season 1 yet.
Uh,
And honestly, it's not like I'm not interested. Just I haven't felt the time.
yeah.
Like most things in life.
I mean, it's fun. It's so 80s. The everything about it, the plot, the action, of course, the setting and all of that. I loved it because it's very nostalgic in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But also just genuinely interesting as as its own thing. So yeah, I mean, definitely watch it, but I mean, it's not a race.
One day in the distant future.
I know a lot of people are wanting to just binge season 2 over the weekend, and I do not have the time or the energy. I am way too tired already. I'm not even gonna start it.
I have to be honest. I find binging series just straight watching, 6, 7 episodes in a row to be a little, eh. Like I like to spread it out. I like to spread that out a little more.
Yeah,
I'll watch maybe 2 or 3 in a sitting, especially for anything that's like an hour long. But I like watching it in smaller bites because it makes it easier to digest in the long run.
yeah.
Yeah,
Stuff that I've seen before, I can easily watch. I can binge it.
well,
Just
yeah.
sit there and
If you're
watch it all.
rewatching something, of course.
But yeah, I'm kind of the same way when I'm watching something for the first time. I don't know. I like to remember, where it starts and stops as far as episode to episode and how it builds and um I don't like to forget where I am and what my name is while I'm watching something new and just kind of become like the Netflix potato that doesn't move and isn't doing anything else with my life.
Forgetting your own name seems like you might have deeper issues than that, though.
Yeah. Well, I am old, so there's that.
True, very true. I can see the wrinkles.
Yeah, and I've even been using like the anti-wrinkle moisturizer stuff for 2 nights.
Wow, 2 whole nights.
Yes, it's so funny because my boss at work was, she's talking about how she's been taking care of her skin since she was 18, and even she has wrinkles, and she's in her 60s. And so she's sitting there telling me like, you got to take care of your skin. You got to do this and do that, and she's giving me all these pointers and telling me what products are good, and now it's like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm looking my age now. She seemed like this. It was really important for me to know that. So the last couple of nights, I've been using it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely 100% concern, and definitely not calling you old as well.
Yeah. I mean, she was horrified because, she thought that I'd been taking care of my skin, and I was like, no, soap and water are basically just shower. And she's like, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Just fobs like 20 different Avon branded products on you.
Apparently I'm not going to be 25 forever. And so I
Yes,
got...
but we've all known that.
It is a little bit weird to, really sort of get honest with myself about how close to 40 I'm getting now.
I feel the same about 30.
Yeah. Those milestones, gosh darn it, they make you think.
It's mostly stones, though, around our necks. I believe they call those millstones. So maybe it's just a typographical error.
Yeah. Millstones and milestones. You're a clever one.
No, I'm not.
You're more clever than me. Too tired to be clever right now. Too tired and senile.
All right, so anyway, there is a very... We're not actually here to talk about age, or rather, you talk about age and I make fun of your age.
Age and beauty.
That's actually not the purpose of this. The central purpose was actually to discuss The Walking Dead.
So you did get a chance to watch it.
Yes, I actually watched it within the first 24 hours of it airing for once, too.
Wow. Okay.
Usually it's like 48, 30, 72 hours, but no, I actually managed the first 24, which means I remember absolutely nothing now.
Okay, so, just overall, what did you think of the episode?
I enjoyed it. I truthfully didn't really think it was anything to write home about. It wasn't the strongest opener or anything, but it was a solid episode. And sometimes it's all you can ask for, especially when a show gets into its 7th season, Getting a solid episode out of a show that's 7 years old, sometimes it starts to stretch the imagination, so...
Right.
I can appreciate that.
I've seen sort of mixed reviews on that. I kind of feel the same way. It was a decent episode. It wasn't, just... And I think it's easy to compare it and for it to fall short in a way because last season's, sort of season opener was such a memorable episode.
Yeah, that's because last season's opener, waterboarded you basically.
Right. Yeah, and this one not quite memorable. I mean, I kind of feel like it'll some things will be revealed and for the most part, it'll just become part of the season, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have, that kind of continuity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean it was decent. I kind of feel like they might have overhyped it a bit with all the, 100th episode sort of fanfare. I was expecting something fantastic and it was just good. um so they sort of shot themselves in the foot with that, I think.
A lot of series do that, though.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you go back, there's a lot of, I guess you'd call it Easter egg stuff that they put in there. The little girl that was in the first episode with the teddy bear,
Mm-hmm.
she made a comeback as a walker in this episode. Stuff like that. They kind of gave her the same uh, sort of bite wounds, whatever, on her face. You know, I am really wondering what the heck is going on with old Rick and um, teary-eyed Rick in that episode. And
Yeah.
I've had a few days to think about it, and now I've got like my
You got a working theory?
yeah.
Because I don't
The-
have one, so I'm interested to hear
You don't have a theory,
Not really.
huh?
There's nothing I'm confident in.
Right. So what did you think about that, and how it was sort of scattered in the episode?
Well, as an element and in like in a purely like purely, yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Purely, stop it, me. From a purely storytelling perspective, I don't know why I couldn't get to the word storytelling, but instead I said, but from a purely storytelling perspective, though, I don't know. Because they've done things like that before, where they've done these weird with these weird flashes where you're not entirely, in fact they did that last episode, in fact, the finale, didn't they?
Yeah.
With Sasha.
Sasha and Abraham and Maggie and yeah, it was.
No, I think about it, they
I
did
didn't connect that.
almost the exact same thing, really, except we just don't know what older Rick, because doesn't
Yeah.
because
It was pretty clear in the last episode what that meant, and
Mhm.
in this, it's not clear at all.
yeah. I must admit, I'm not always a fan of when they do this sort of thing, because they've also done it a couple of times prior. Not that I can remember the moments, I just remember they did it.
Hmm.
But, where they've done this sort of... Where they sort of broken up the momentum by adding in these little snippets and scenes, and I can't say I've always been a fan of it because it feels a little too artsy for a show that's ultimately about flesh-eating monsters
Yeah.
and people running away from them. But
They did that with really with the second episode of last season with flashing back and forth to them being Lucille, him having sort of the vision of the sitting at the table, which that actually made a lot of sense
yeah,
in context.
that's because that wasn't trying to be artsy though. That was clearly like Rick's.
That was more emotional.
Yeah, that was clearly like sort of Rick's like vision of the future clearly shattering before his eyes.
Yeah. But it's almost like they've tried to recapture whatever magic that episode had by putting these sort of flashes in.
The problem is that it doesn't work if it's too vague. As
Right,
an element
yeah.
in storytelling, it doesn't work if it's too vague.
The word contrived keeps popping up in my mind.
That's
It's
actually the
just
perfect word for it.
okay. So my theory.
I just noticed this. It's been happening since we started the call again. Your camera's shaking a bit.
Oh, probably because it's sitting on the
And
arm.
I
of-
just realized that people watching this might get motion sick or something.
Whoops. Well, I'm drinking, and so should you be.
Anyway, I don't know what I was staring at there because
Whatever.
the camera's not there. Like normally that's the stare that you give like the audience, and it's like
Well, my laptop is sitting on the arm of the chair, so it's not quite on the most stable surface. Okay, so theory. Okay. First of all, feedback. Some other stuff that I've read, people, why didn't they just shoot Negan? Really upset that they shot into the windows. But if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong,
just say hi.
Is it Bug?
Oh, where's the camera?
Okay.
Hello.
Hi! You are so adorable.
Thanks. I dressed up
You
as Waldo.
Glam tonight. What's up?
What?
I said you look retro glam.
Oh, I just went to a wedding.
Ah. You.
Love you.
Okay, so you were saying.
What was I saying?
We were talking about theories regarding old Rick / teary-eyed Rick.
Yeah.
And
Oh, shooting, not shooting at Negan, shooting into the windows. People were really confused as to why they didn't just shoot Negan. Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't their saviors shooting at them from the windows?
That is correct, though that it's not entirely clear. And I understand the confusion on that point.
Right. I remember quite clearly that someone was shooting at Maggie.
Yeah, you can, like, throughout the gunfight, you can hear sounds of return fire. Like,
right.
There's very obvious return
fire.
No,
it's not as if they were just shooting at nothing. There was someone there.
And they show the sparks of bullets hitting their, their armored cars. So it's like there is an exchange of fire. It's not just like a one-sided volley. There probably are multiple people behind those windows, and
right. Okay, so that's one of the criticisms I saw, that I thought people were being a bit obtuse, because it wasn't just that they were trying to waste all their ammo and deliberately not hit Negan. But yeah,
honestly, the guy with the bat with barbed wire on, he's actually the least threatening thing when you have a ranged weapon.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a boomerang. I just imagine you just boomeranging through the air hitting people. It's like, well, this show jumped the shark really fast.
In your mind.
Yes, in my mind.
Okay, so good. I didn't just imagine that. That was actually return fire from the windows at the Savior compound. And what do they call it?
Sanctuary?
Is it the sanctuary?
Or
anyhow,
it doesn't matter. It's now swarming with zombies, and that's what's important.
Right. So that did make some sense. However, and this kind of ties into my theory. I don't believe that whoever was shooting at them from the windows, I don't believe for a second that is his whole army. I don't think that they're all there, and I don't believe that he would have walked out and his generals would have walked out and been quite so at ease if he didn't have something in the works, some plan that was playing out as they sat there and in this parlay back and forth. So I'm wondering if Old Rick and Crying Rick is another one of those sort of visions being shattered type things, because his family was left back at Alexandria. And I'm thinking that Negan sent some people out and some very important main characters will die. Just because Negan was way too calm.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously had something, some plan that was playing out as he stood there. And I think that, because it was showing Rick crying and looking so broken, I don't think that is, you could make the argument, and I think this is why they did it, that is the past,
Mm-hmm.
and old Rick is the future, and that he went from broken to everyone being there, and they're having this festival and whatever. I don't think that's going to be it. I think that
because they love to mess with expectations.
Right. I think that he is, he's mourning something that he lost that he thought would be there in the end. And I don't know what it is, because in the old Rick visions, he and Judith have aged. Michonne has not.
Carl has too.
I couldn't really tell about Carl, to be honest.
Yeah, that was definitely older. That was definitely an older Carl, so
I'm wondering.
But Michonne was definitely kind of stuck in time. Like, it looks like they made her look slightly older, but not old, not like Rick's level of agedness, which
I'm wondering
also, which is also weird, because there's definitely several levels. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. No, I was saying there are several levels of like visual metaphor going on in those old Rick scenes. Because not everything fits together. It's also it's all very weird and bizarre. So I will say for certain that I do not believe that this is a vision of the future. There's something definitely deeper at work, because again, lots of visual metaphors going on. There's a reason that his children have aged, but Michonne is not. But there's also the fact that, again, Carl and Judith only appear to be 5-6 years older.
Mm-hmm.
Rick appears to be like 20 years older. At least.
Right.
And Michonne, of course, hasn't aged at all.
So, you have to wonder if something happened to one of the kids. And for me, Carl was a bit ambiguous. Judith was definitely many years older. Michonne hadn't aged at all. So I don't know. I think that one of the characters has been killed, and whatever Negan had planned playing out while they were parlaying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's gonna really hit Rick hard. I think it's the visions of him crying. I think that's when he gets back. I just don't know, who died or what happened. If it was during that battle, or if it's during the war,
Mm-hmm.
over however long the war stretches. And, if something terrible did happen, how badly is everyone going to hate Eugene for allowing it?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm kind of thinking about Eugene and, Gabriel, Father Gabriel.
Mm.
They're stuck there right now. And I kind of half expect Negan to feed Gabriel to the walkers so he can get away.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, that's my theory.
It's as good as any, quite frankly. The only thing I was really confident of is what those visions weren't. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. It's definitely, I think it'll be an interesting season at least.
Yeah.
But where this goes after this, I think that's going to be a big question.
Mm-hmm. The old Rick scenes are that's definitely the future that he was fighting for,
Mm-hmm.
I think. And he's not really going to get it. Which, frankly, that was inevitable. But, they wouldn't all make it. And they knew that they probably wouldn't all make it.
Incidentally, going back to the beginning of the talk, as far as Negan being as confident as he was during the parley, yeah, I definitely think you're probably definitely right that he has something else planned. But I find it interesting because it feels like this exchange overall is probably, at least this is my sense going forward, is that this exchange is going to be a lot more equal than you might otherwise think, given the size and the strength of the Saviors. Like, I think that that Rick's alliance is hitting them harder than Negan probably would have expected. Because in the end of the episode showed them also hitting satellite Savior satellite locations, like the first one they destroyed.
They had a list, and
well, the list was when there was them taking out sentries, just sentries that were watching the approaches to the Savior's primary base. But I could have sworn at the very end there were a couple of scenes showing them like attacking other locations.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. I was thinking, given that they did attack the sentries with such precision, Negan's got to know that there's, a rat somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see Dwight. I don't really see him taking the blame for that, or letting it become, sort of an obvious conclusion that he is to blame for that. Mm-hmm. I think he's gonna throw maybe Eugene under the bus. Eugene would
be a perfect way to do it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Eugene's the perfect patsy for everything that Dwight's doing right now.
But we'll see, because again, subverting expectations. It's what they excel at in The Walking Dead. Whether it's killing characters off or, just having events unfold in unexpected ways.
Yeah.
It's definitely...
I tell you what was cool was when... Oh, geez, what's that stupid politician's name?
Gregory?
Yes, Gregory. I said stupid politician. You knew exactly what I was talking about.
Well, I mean, I could have said Mitch McConnell, but it seemed too obvious.
Yeah, he came out, presumptively to speak for the Hilltop, and I loved how Jesus said the Hilltop stood with Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dude just pushed him down the stairs, like, you're useless.
And I think they already kind of knew that.
I think so, too. Yeah. I mean, Negan's not stupid. He can read people, which is why he's the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And he can read, he can read a coward. He knew that dude was basically an older, alcoholic Spencer. Which Spencer was, he had a good start on being an alcoholic.
No, maybe it's more to the point that he knew that Spencer was just going to be another Gregory.
Mm.
Because, of course, he'd been dealing with Gregory for much longer than Spencer.
Right. That's true. But, yeah. And then that little turd got away.
Mm-hmm. Because... I forgot his name. Gosh darn it.
Father Gabriel.
Gabriel. You forgot it earlier. I forgot it now, even though we mentioned it already. Because Gabriel is actually a decent human being. Contrary to what certain people seem to think.
And didn't we talk about that when he was first introduced and we started to see this, this character arc, and we had talked about how Gabriel's he's going to die eventually. because he tries to do something selfless.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you know, his character started out by being very selfish and not letting the people in the church, and they all got attacked by the walkers. He's gonna, you know, do a 180, and he's gonna end up doing something selfless. It's probably gonna be kind of dumb, and then he's gonna die because, you know, he tried to be a good person in the end. So yeah, I think he's totally dead.
Which is a pity, really.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of becoming a really good...
Because, you know, we saw all of last season how dependable he actually was, you know.
Right?
You know, making sure Alexandria was safe while everyone else was away and everything, you know.
Yeah. Where I started to kind of... where he kind of started to get my respect is when they had to... The episode with the great montage, everybody fighting the walkers, and they had to get out of the house. They were covered in zombie guts.
Mm-hmm.
And he took Judith to the church, and then he said, you know, that God had provided for them by giving them the courage to fight for themselves, essentially. And he went out and actually became part of the group that night.
Yep. You know, after spending, you know, two seasons, you know, basically subverting the group.
Right. Yeah. So that was where he kind of turned a corner and wasn't quite such an obnoxious little butt.
He even became kind of a creepy preacher in some ways.
Yeah.
Because remember, what was he?
You know, it was like icing on a cake when he freaked Negan out by, you know, just standing there behind him with his big smile on his face. Yeah. You know, that was great.
You are creepy as shit. And to be fair, what's Negan's actor again?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He plays Negan so perfectly, you know, like
really does.
I don't think there are very few actors I can think of who would have reacted perfectly in that moment, you know, because he just did. You know, that scene was as much about Gabriel being creepy as it was Negan reacting the exact way you would expect him to react.
Yeah.
You know, like he's actually legitimately surprised by this.
Yeah, that was perfect. And that's something that The Walking Dead has done really well, is cast their characters extremely well.
I mean, seriously, how many people... I mean, seriously, you would never believe any of those people actually have a British accent normally in real life.
I know, right?
I mean, I keep bringing up that point, you know, like every couple of months, but you just wouldn't believe it.
And, oh, geez, Andrew Lincoln has that very proper accent, too.
Yeah.
It's great. But, I mean, he was cast perfectly. Morgan, Michonne.
Morgan's also a standout performance in that regard.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, he's definitely a standout character.
I think McBride, she's probably one of the best actors I've ever seen. I mean, just Carol's range. She's, you know, because a lot of times she's pretending to pretend, and I mean, it's just, there are layers to her acting, and it's amazing.
You know, and you know, and then she lets some of the subtlety drop, like her, like, say, that reaction to the Kingdom when she was first in the Kingdom, where her
That's my favorite.
Where her face is literally, am I high or are they?
That was so perfect. That's my favorite scene, and that line, I don't know what the hell's going on, in the most wonderful way. That's my favorite line.
Like she's trying not to scream and laugh at the same time.
I know. It's great. Oh, it's so great.
Really, it's hard to believe. It's hard to imagine that a zombie show of all things would actually be so good. You know.
Yeah.
But I think it's also.
I didn't think I would like it when the show first came out, and I didn't even start watching until into season 2 or 3. And I went back and watched everything. I didn't think I would like it because I don't like horror. I'm not into gore. And those things just don't interest me.
And in fairness, I think that's part of it. It's like the stigma that surrounds like the zombie genre. You know, mostly that it's about it's about the gore and the horror and so forth. And strictly speaking, that's not what the best zombie media is. It's not about that. It's about the characters, and in the case of say Romero, it's about it's about the allegory at hand.
Yeah.
That's why Dawn of the Dead is considered Dawn of the Dead is probably considered one of the best zombie movies of all time. And of course, Night of the Living Dead is a classic, but I've never even watched these things. I've just seen so much about them. I've watched reviews, and I've watched and listened to commentaries, and it's just like after a point, it's sort of like I can understand this now. I'm not, but yeah, I'm not saying that I'm like some sort of Romero expert or anything. Don't never quote me or anything. But at the same time, it's like I have a deeper appreciation for the genre and what the genre represents. It's the same way that you look at, say, fantasy, and people think, like fantasy is an escape for children. But if you go deeper behind the veil, you realize that it's really not. It's about the same things that we're always interested in. The same reason we watch The Walking Dead. It's about human struggles and human sacrifices. It's just the setting is different from what we're used to. And that's, frankly, what makes fiction... That's what makes fiction so important. It allows us to look at ourselves through a different lens.
Well, there you go, getting all deep.
That's what I do.
I'm just here to look pretty.